So Johnny Gargano is sticking around with WWE for at least another week. According to Fightful, this is Sean Ross Sapp, and the Wrestling Observer newsletter also confirmed the news on Tuesday by saying that Gargano's deal was originally set to expire on December 3rd, and that a loss in the North American Championship Triple Threat that night would give him the indication of whether or not he had a new deal. He didn't win, but he did manage to get booked in WarGames somehow, so he's going to be at WarGames on Sunday. And that is, of course, after his contract was set to expire. So he signed a week-long extension. So now Johnny Gargano's contract officially, his time, rather, with WWE officially expires on December 10th. Trevor, what does this indicate to you? Does this indicate that he'll stay or possibly explore his options elsewhere?
Well, at this point, I think it's all on NXT. At this point, honestly, Gargano has said once before that he loved NXT and wouldn't mind staying. But you also got to understand, and I think most of wrestling fans do, Gargano is huge in the Indies. Like he was a big draw in the Indies. He's had some great matches with Danhausen, and before he was Danhausen. So he's done a lot of good things in the Indies. So it would be nothing for him to go back to the Indies or go back to the promotion we will no longer name. But if I'm NXT, I'm signed to Johnny Gargano. He's one of the draws. Like if he leaves, how AEW talks about the pillars, he's one of the pillars. And if he leaves, I feel like they will definitely feel that. So if I'm NXT, I'm gonna try to talk to him about a contract.
It's interesting because I think it depends on. I think you're right. It depends whether or not he stays. Depends completely on the direction of NXT, because I think Johnny Gargano probably knows what's in store for him on the main roster. He probably knows that what's in store for him isn't exactly a huge push. He probably knows that on the main roster, he might have that, those first few weeks of really good TV time and all that. And then eventually it'll just fade out to maybe him at the maximum, feuding with Damian Priest for the U.S. title. Right. And more likely, honestly, being in Ricochet's position, which I would compare those two being at very similar levels as far as sports entertainment is concerned. And I want to differentiate the two because there is a huge difference between what WWE does and what AEW does. That doesn't mean that one is worse or one is bad inherently. They just do different things. For me, the fact that he had to sign an extension means he's definitely weighing the options, which is a smart thing to do. Johnny Wrestling is going to be one of the hottest free agents. I know we say this about a lot of people, but there's a lot of hot free agents out there, and wrestling is as hot as it's ever been. Deal with it.
We know what Vince likes. We know the blueprint for Vince's guys. Big, buff, beefy guys. Some of them athletic, some of them not. It's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. And if you're lucky enough to get a championship and you are the size of Gargano, size of Ciampa, size of Finn Balor, size of Shawn Michaels, size of Perfect, even though Perfect was probably one of the biggest Intercontinental champions he's had, you're typically a Intercontinental champion. And that's kind of how it is. It doesn't make it right, doesn't make it fair, but that's just how it is. And honestly, I think if that's the case, if he's not going to stay on NXT, I honestly think he's going to take his ball and go home. Well, not home, but to another place.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we'll kind of talk about this more so in our NXT WarGames preview. But I think that the reason that Johnny Gargano, no matter what, even if he re-signs with WWE, no matter what, he doesn't have a future in NXT. I don't think he has a future in NXT at all, because NXT's not the NXT that Johnny Gargano led, the NXT that Johnny Gargano had these great matches in, these great feuds in. It's gone. It's gone. It is not the same NXT at all. And I think people need to realize that. There are a lot of people who are still defending, it's still going to have the edge, and it's still going to have, no, it's a different product. Some people like it. Mazel tov to them. I think there are elements of it that are actually pretty decent and good. And I think we're kind of seeing, the struggle, I guess, between the old NXT and the real NXT and then current NXT kind of playing out in WarGames, which again we'll talk about. But I mean, he knows that the only way for him to go is up to the main roster, and the only thing that he has to really decide is, am I going to be booked
Right.
as well as I should be, or in a way that I find advantageous, or am I going to be paid enough to kind of deal with that? Or, because who knows, sometimes for people, he just had a kid. Sometimes for people, it is about the money. And that's totally fine. You are getting paid to wrestle, you're getting paid to entertain, and people are fine with. I 100% get that. You got to take care of your family first. I think though he could find comparable offers elsewhere. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say that, oh, well, every AEW can't take everyone. AEW could always use Johnny Wrestling.
I think any promotion can use Johnny Wrestling.
Impact, I don't know how much they'd be able to pay him. That's why I'm also talking about there needs to be another wrestling company.
Right.
There just needs to be, because
I think MLW would be a good spot for him.
I don't know if they wouldn't pay him comparable to what WWE would pay him, though.
Probably not. I mean, they do have Davey Richards, and Davey Richards is taking a pay cut, but
yeah, and from all indications, it seems like Johnny Gargano is someone that WWE wants to keep. It's not like a situation where where he's kind of forced to leave. They want him to resign. He's just kind of mulling his offers, and I think that's what he's going to end up doing, which he's entitled to. He's an independent contractor. He can, just like WWE can fire anyone. He can say, "Give me." I'm gonna think on it. Vince.
I mean, because it makes sense. I mean, just think about like some of the matches, especially like he could actually do if he went to other places. Like, I mean, we throw this name a lot, but Gargano. I mean, and Will Ospreay. Like, I mean, like
Gargano Bryan.
Gargano Brown and Gargano
Bandito, Gargano Nick Cage, because that can apparently happen now.
Apparently it can.
Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.